Hello everyone, my name is Nilanjan Chatterjee and today we are going to talk about the decline of the Mughal Empire. That is apparently the first unit of modern Indian history. So there are multiple historical theories and analysis regarding the decline of the Mughal Empire, including the economic crisis, the military obsolescence, and many other reasons, including political, religious, and social. Today, we are going to briefly discuss the points which are relevant to understand the decline of Mughal Empire. As we can see in the first slide, there was a very important historical view by Jodunath Sarkar, historian Jodunath Sarkar, in early 20th century, where he claimed that the military obsolescence and technological lag was responsible behind the decline of the Mughal Empire, which means that the Mughal Empire did not update or work on their military strategies. They were absolutely stagnant in their military strategies, which led to the gradual collapse of the Mughal Empire. It is also important to note that the Mughals, particularly in naval warfares, did not perform well during its later period, which was also a reason behind its decline. As the second point says, the vulnerability to threats to the external powers. Okay, so these external regional powers that appeared in early 18th century and mid 18th century in India, which were much more advanced in warfare technologies, they somehow overpowered the Mughals in terms of warfare and military strategies. The third point that is observed by Sir Jodunath Sarkar was that these things together, these military problems together, resulted in the gradual decline of the empire, along with the religious policies of one of the great Mughal rulers, Aurangzeb. Now, according to Jodunath Sarkar, the religious policies of Aurangzeb were mostly anti-Hindu, and also the Maratha policies of Aurangzeb actually triggered the Marathas and other regional powers against the Mughal Empire. So that caused an absolute collapse of the empire. So these are the two significant reasons described by Sir Jodunath Sarkar. One can say that Jodunath Sarkar's views on the decline of Mughal Empire was somehow, I would say, dependent or somehow influenced by previous historians like James Mill, Vincent Smith, etc. But Jodunath Sarkar actually brought some new historical insights in this development of the historical theory. As we can see in the next slide, that the three important points or three important reasons behind the decline of the Mughal Empire, as discussed by historian Irfan Habib, Satish Chandra, and Atharani, give us some critical insight about the theory of decline. So, according to Irfan Habib, it was the basic problem related to landed economy that resulted in the decline of the Mughal Empire, which means the entire administrative system that was based on the revenue structure of Mughal Empire, that is the Jagirdari system, that gradual collapse of that Jagirdari system gradually led to the decline of the empire. On the other hand, another historian named Satish Chandra, as you can see on the right side of the screen, claimed that the increasing difference between Jama and Hasil in the entire Jagirdari economy and Mansabdari economy of Mughal Empire resulted in the decline, as in the demanded revenue rate and the actual revenue that the royal treasury was receiving, the increasing gap between these two things actually led to the gradual collapse of the Mughal Empire. Now, in the 1960s, Athar Ali, a great historian from the Aligarh Muslim University, claimed that it is not related to Aurangzeb's religious policies or anything. It was basically an eventual collapse of the centralized administrative bureaucratic structure of the Mughal Empire that resulted in the decline. So, one can say that the centralized administrative structure collapsed in 18th century after the death of Aurangzeb. That coincided with the rising crisis related to the Jagirdari and Mansabdari system. The systems related to landed revenue and administrative system. Okay. Coming to the next point. Stanley Woolpert highlighted Aurangzeb's religious policies as one of the main reasons behind the decline. Now, in the 1970s and 80s, Woolpert brought back Jodhinath Sarkar's theory of this religious policies of Aurangzeb being orthodox. According to Woolpert, it is basically a combination of the religious policy of Aurangzeb and the economic crisis that Mughal Empire was going through. That was mainly the fundamental reason behind the decline of the Mughal Empire. Now, coming to the next point, as we can see in the next slide, in 18th century, we see the regional powers like the Marathas under the leadership of the Peshwas, the Sikhs under the leadership of Banda Bahadur, the Nizam of Hyderabad. They are emerging, the Nawab of Bengal, the Nawab of Awadh. Like these regional empires or regional kingdoms are emerging as a strong power against to challenge, to contest the Mughal authority, the Mughal central authority. Now, one can say that there were many non-Islamic powers that emerged during this period. Now, according to some historians like Stuart Gordon, this was basically because of the stagnant religious policies of the Mughals that these non-Islamic regional powers emerged in 18th century, which gradually led to the decay of Mughal authority. As we can see in the next point also, the Jat and the Rajputs. The Jats and the Rajputs also emerged as separate, important, significant political groups in 18th century to challenge, to curb the ultimate authority of the Mughals. The next slide, Douglas Trowson, a famous military historian, has claimed that the rigid feudal structure within the Mughal military system and the inflexibility in tactics were responsible for the decline. So now we can see the old theory of Jodhinath Sarkar is brought back by Douglas Trowson, who claimed that it is not just a stagnant warfare strategy, but rather a warfare strategy that is not basically fitting with the entire world or the external world, the world outside the Mughal territory. And it was basically the incapacity of the Mughals that they couldn't fight the Marathas and the external forces with their warfare or military resources. So that is another important point behind the decline theory. Now we come to the final part of our discussion. So as we can see, the colonial encroachment and European influence. So there are multiple theories. For example, Christopher Bailey claimed that the colonizers, with the theories of enlightenment and modernity, scientific revolution, their extremely advanced technologies actually overpowered the Mughals and the other Indian regional powers. And that is why neither the Mughals nor the regional powers could actually emerge in 18th century. And that is why the 18th century can be called as an age of absolute decline. It's not just about decline of the Mughal Empire, but also about an absolute totalitarian decline. But there are many historians who countered this argument. For example, historians like Sanjay Subramaniam and Muzaffar Alam, they have claimed that during 18th century, the regional empires got so much prosperity that the British, the colonizers, when they came, they had to negotiate with the regional powers. It was not about their absolute dominance over those regional powers, but rather it was a gradual negotiation that further led to political dominance or political exploitation later on. So, we can't consider 18th century as an absolute age of darkness just because of the fact that Mughal Empire came to an end during that period. It was also because the later rulers, the rulers after Aurangzeb, like Jahandar Shah, like Bahadur Shah, etc., they were incapable. They didn't have the military, political, administrative capacity of holding together the Timurid or the Mughal prestige. That is why the Mughal Empire collapsed. But in other parts of India, different empires emerged during that time, and they were extremely capable. They were extremely advanced in their socio-cultural political arena. So as we can see, the last point discussed by P.J. Marshall, there were some internal strifes, some internal conflicts within the Indian communities, including the Mughal nobility, that also caused the decline. For example, we can't consider the Europeans as a group of people who completely came and overpowered the Mughals. It was also the internal factors, the fragility within Indian communities, okay, the constant conflicts going on between different Indian groups that resulted in the decline, the gradual collapse of the Indian subcontinent in terms of social-political affairs. As we can see in this slide, that the global perspective behind the Mughal decline, the decline of the Mughal Empire, as the 21st century historians argue that there are some global factors, as we already discussed, like modernity, like scientific revolution, that actually challenged the very basic integrity of the Mughal Empire. The monarchical structure, the imperial structure of the Mughal Empire. Apart from this point, another important point is the maritime trade shifts. That means Mughal Empire, by the late 18th century, they failed in creating long-term maritime connections, trading networks with the external world. Yes, the regional powers actually did. The Nawab of Bengal, the regional powers, particularly the eastern and western India, they did flourish during this period in terms of maritime activities, but the Mughal Empire failed to achieve that status. And we already discussed this point as the interconnected decline. Scholars like Peter Robb have explored how these global shifts contributed to the gradual decline of the Mughal Empire. So, that is it for today. We are concluding our discussion with these important historical points and perspectives, which relates to socio-political, religious, as well as military reasons behind the decline of the Mughal Empire. Thank you very much.